What if your fastest answer is the one your character will have to repair? It's 9:47 at night. Your phone lights up. Someone wants you to fire a person before breakfast, approve money you haven't verified, or answer an accusation you haven't investigated. Your hand is already over the keyboard. You can feel the pressure saying, respond now or you look weak. But what if the real test isn't how quickly you answer? What if it's whether you can stay anchored long enough to answer honestly? Welcome to your Conscious Commander Daily Dose, where life's greatest tests become our sharpest compass. Let's get into it. Today we're talking about the integrity buffer, a disciplined pause, usually up to 24 hours, that gives your judgment room to catch up with the pressure around you. Not every decision needs a day. Some decisions need 10 minutes. Some truly cannot wait. But many decisions only feel urgent because somebody else is uncomfortable with uncertainty. By the end of our time together, you'll know how to tell the difference between a real deadline and an emotional demand, how to protect the value at stake, how to give people a calm interim answer, and how to decide without pretending you have perfect certainty. You can pause and still lead. In fact, sometimes the pause is where leadership begins. Here's the thing. Urgency does not outrank integrity. I know that sounds obvious. It isn't, especially when everyone is watching. A loud demand is not automatically a legitimate deadline. A person's disappointment is not proof that you made the wrong choice. And instant certainty is not the same thing as courage. Let's stay with that late night message. Imagine it's from a senior employee. They're angry. They say a colleague has failed badly, and they insist that you terminate the person immediately. Your first impulse might be to defend the organization, protect your authority, or prove that you take the complaint seriously. But you may not know the full story. You may not know what happened, who was present, or whether the requested action even follows your standards. That is where a grounded pause matters. And let me be careful here. I am not saying every email deserves a spiritual retreat. That would be another form of avoidance. A grounded pause gets more specific as time passes. You name the decision, the return time, the facts you need, and the person who must be informed. If you can't name those things, you may not be pausing, you may be hiding. Start by asking one plain question. What is the actual clock? Not the emotional clock, the actual one. Does a safety issue require action right now? Is there a legal deadline? Is a payment cutoff approaching? Will a system fail if nobody acts within the hour? Or can you acknowledge the concern tonight and make the considered decision tomorrow morning? Write down what happens if you wait 10 minutes, 2 hours, or 1 day. Make the consequence concrete. Then write down what you still don't know. In our example, you might need the performance record, the details of the incident, and a conversation with the person being accused. The emotional clock says, prove you're in control. The actual clock may say, acknowledge tonight, verify the facts before making a decision. That small exercise separates time-sensitive facts from emotional noise. It also gives you something to stand on when the pressure returns, because it probably will return. Pressure is persistent. Your response has to be intentional. Then ask, what is at stake? Not just money, speed, or convenience. What character, relationship, promise, or standard could this choice compromise? In the workplace example, you may be protecting fairness, confidentiality, due process, or the dignity of people who are not in the room. At home, it might be trust. In a business, it might be the promise you made about how decisions are handled. Try 3 quick questions. What kind of person would this choice require me to be? What would I be teaching others by making it? And could I explain the decision honestly to the people affected by it? You don't need to make every decision feel morally enormous. You do need to notice when convenience is asking you to become someone you don't respect. If those questions create discomfort, don't rush past it. Discomfort isn't always a warning, but it is information. Maybe the choice is simply difficult, or maybe you're trying to protect an image instead of honoring a standard. The pause gives you room to find out which is which. Now create a bridge between the pressure of the moment and the decision that still needs to mature. You can say, I understand that this needs attention. I don't want to give you a rushed answer that creates a larger problem. I will review the facts and come back to you by tomorrow at 3 o'clock. If anything changes before then, please send it to me. Notice what that response does. It acknowledges the concern. It doesn't promise an outcome you haven't decided. It gives a return time. And it keeps responsibility with you. If you need 30 minutes, say 30 minutes. If you need until morning, say that. People can usually handle a pause when they understand its purpose and know when you'll return. What destroys trust is silence, shifting deadlines, or false confidence. A pause without communication feels like abandonment. A pause with a clear commitment feels like stewardship. Hold the line on that difference. During the buffer, step away from the performance of the moment. Put the facts on paper. Take a walk. Breathe slowly. Pray, if prayer is part of your practice. Sit in silence, review your personal code, or speak with someone whose wisdom isn't controlled by the outcome. The form can vary. The purpose is the same. Return to what is steady before you choose what is consequential. Then seek wise counsel. Not an audience that will apply the answer you already want. Find someone who can challenge your assumptions without taking over the decision. Give them the facts, the real deadline, the options, and the value you're trying to protect. Then listen. Counsel is a flashlight, not a steering wheel. You still have to lead. In that employee situation, wise counsel might help you notice that the demand for immediate termination is really a demand for acknowledgement. You can address the concern without making an irreversible decision at night. You might say, I hear the seriousness of what you're reporting. I will review the facts, speak with the appropriate people, and follow up by 10 tomorrow morning. That is not weakness. That is controlled responsibility. When the pause ends, decide and document, not because documentation makes you infallible, but because it makes your reasoning visible to you. Record the key facts, the value you were protecting, the decision you made, and what would cause you to revisit it. Then communicate 3 things: the reason, the owner, and the next action. You could say, we're choosing this because it protects fairness and gives us enough information to act responsibly. I will make the next call today and we will review the result on Friday. Simple, direct, accountable. You don't need perfect certainty. You need the best responsible option available with the information you have. A good decision can still produce a disappointing result. An imperfect decision can still be made with honesty and care. Your job is not to control every outcome. Your job is to govern your response. That is self-command. And the 24-hour number is not a rigid law. If there is an immediate threat to safety, a legal deadline, a medical concern, a time-critical operational failure, or a rapidly changing emergency, shorten the buffer. Get qualified help. Confirm what you can. Make the safest responsible decision. 10 honest minutes can beat 1 reckless second. The principle is not delay at all costs. The principle is refusing to let panic make the decision for you. A shorter pause is still a pause if it helps you separate facts from fear and action from performance. If you lead a team, normalize this. Tell people you don't have to answer every difficult question on the spot. You do have to acknowledge it. Identify the decision time and return when you said you would. That standard gives people room to think without rewarding avoidance. It changes what the culture celebrates, not the fastest reaction, the clearest responsible follow through. So here's the practice. When pressure arrives, name the real clock, name what is at stake, create a bridge with a clear return time, then decide, communicate, and document what you learned. Pause, pray, or reflect. If that helps you become steady, seek wise counsel, and execute with clarity. This is not about becoming slow. It's about becoming trustworthy at speed. Before noon tomorrow, use the integrity buffer on one decision you're tempted to answer emotionally. Write down the clock, the stake, and the return time. Then notice what changed. Did the decision change or did only your state of mind change? If this gave you a steadier way to lead, share it with someone carrying too many urgent decisions alone. Sometimes the most courageous answer begins with, I will get back to you after I've done this responsibly. Thanks for listening, and until next time, navigate the noise, hold the line, and live with spiritual integrity, character, and command.